Hi, hey everyone. Mark here, Mark P Markets. Thanks for joining me for another Bitcoin video analysis. Here I'm streaming on TradingView and on YouTube. And so that means I have to follow house rules, as you know. I want to welcome you to the stream. A couple of things real quick. If you're new to this stream, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my Bitcoin analysis, and then I'm going to answer your questions. I'm going to change the format up a little bit as far as my economic calendar that I usually go through. I'm only going to mention a couple of the main events, and that's that. I want to save time, and I want to spend more time answering your questions, okay? So if you have a question about a stock or an altcoin, please share it in the chat now. And also, if you'd like to mention what country or what city that you're from, that's always a fun fact. All right, so let's get this thing started. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Now, make sure that if you're on, if you're on TradingView, make sure you start answering your questions early because this thing can get, out of hand. All right, and I want to try to answer as many questions as possible. All right, so let me get the charts on here. Just give me a moment to pull those up, and then I'll say hello to everyone. Hold on a second. Let me just turn off this slide. Okay, here we go. All right, so you should be able to see me, and you can see my list there. All right, so first things first. Yeah, one other thing before I get started with the analysis and the economic stuff. If you have a question about a technical analysis question, about charts, about chart patterns, whatever it is, the best way to get an answer for that question would be to put it in one of these stream chats, okay, whether it's YouTube or TradingView. The best thing to do is you come in early and you put your question before everyone else puts the questions, and then I'll see it right away and I'll answer your question in real time during my stream. If you send an email with a question, it's a lot harder for me because we have a lot of other types of emails we have to answer. And so, I want to be able to answer your question, and I would like to do it in the best way possible. So again, best way to ask questions would be to come here into one of my streams. I stream every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern time, and you can put your question in early before I even begin the stream. And then once I get to the Q&A portion, I'll go right to your question, okay? All right, so again, that's for like technical analysis questions, because James, I saw you had a question, and I'm gonna answer it here. All right, so let's get into the economic calendar first. Now, here's the thing, like I mentioned, I'm not gonna go through the economic calendar. TradingView, by the way, has its own economic calendar, which you can use. I use a separate one, but here's what I'm gonna do to save time. I'm gonna go through the economic calendar on my own time, and then when I come to the stream here, I'm gonna just mention some important events or scheduled reports that are coming out, and we'll go through it quickly. So this week we have a lot of them. Okay, first one tomorrow is the 3rd, and we have Bank of Australia, the rate statement. Because again, with these economic calendars, all you're interested in, or all I'm interested in, are rate statements or any other type of important economic report. Rate statements are important. So you have Bank of Australia. This can affect Aussie pairs. On the 4th, which is Wednesday, we have the FOMC meeting, okay? The Federal Reserve is having its FOMC meeting. There's also ADP, the ADP payroll, the pre-payroll report. Don't worry about that one. The FOMC meeting, they're going to raise the rates, okay? That's expected, and it's priced in. I have to emphasize that. It's priced in. So don't send me questions like, oh, they raised the rates, but the market rallied. Why? It's the S&P and everything else, the dollar has priced in this rate hike months ago. So the key to these meetings, the FOMC meeting, is the press conference that follows. It's usually 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. And during this conference, that's where the Chairman Powell, may say something. He may give a hint that they're not going to raise anymore, or they're going to stop for a little while, or maybe they're going to raise more aggressively. Whatever he says in that press conference is what's going to cause the market to react. Okay, the goal here is not to try to capture that, right? The goal is to control your risk and protect your capital. So The risk during an FOMC meeting is a dramatic range expansion. You want to be prepared for something like that, okay? So that's on Wednesday. And usually the rate statement or the rate announcement comes out at 2 p.m. Eastern time, followed by the press conference. On Thursday, the Bank of England has their rate statement. All right, so make sure you're aware of that, especially if you're in any forex pairs that have the pound in them. They're having their rate statement on Thursday. And then on Friday, we have non-farm payrolls, which is probably the most important economic report scheduled for the first Friday of every month. You need to know that report comes out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. Again, it can cause a range expansion in the entire global market system, okay? Because if it moves the S&P in a big way, or if it moves the dollar in a big way, everything moves. Now, again, it's a lot of times these things come out as non-events, but there could be a surprise that the market was not expecting, and you can see a dramatic move. Again, you want to be prepared. By the way, the objective of these streams, the reason why I do these streams is for you to be prepared. All right. People want like action now. They want to trade now. They want to make money now. But like I wrote in my TradingView article yesterday, if you read, hopefully you read the article, I mentioned that everyone is obsessed with trying to figure out where the market's going next, right? Point A to point B. They want to know where's point B and how's it going to get there. Let the market figure that out, all right? What I want to do is I want to be prepared for whatever point B is. Let the market tell me what that is, and I can anticipate these potential levels in advance. So now I am prepared. That's the idea, okay? That's the objective of the stream and the value that I hope to deliver to you. I want you to be prepared. So basically, like with Bitcoin, we're talking about potential point B levels, right? It could be a resistance, it could be a support. And at one of those levels, we can then anticipate some type of price action activity followed by a potential setup. When that all develops, then we can assess our risk and decide if we want to participate in that type of trade. Does that make sense? Okay, so our strategy, by the way, the strategy that I employ for the swing trades happens to be categorized as a reversal strategy. So reversal strategies require a lot of momentum. Now let's talk about the Bitcoin chart and let's get into the analysis here. And let me just say hello to a few people, right? We got Travel. Hey, good to see you. Eligius, Kai, all my regulars. Peter, good to see you. Hey, there's James from London. All right, cool. Matt, Winter, I got my Romanians here. Scott, okay, I got Wedge, I got Alex, Steen, cool, got everyone here. I don't see what's his name, my international man of mystery. Where is he? Schwartz. I guess he's been real busy. International man of mystery kind of stuff keeps them real busy. Anyway, all right. And on TradingView, all right, TradingView. Listen, man, you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 symbols. I'm only going to answer one of those. Come on, you have to be fair to other people. One symbol per person, please. Hey, freeloader, good to see you. Yeah, I know. Isn't that funny? Okay, cool. All right, so I got some questions there. Again, TradingView people, if you have questions, now is a good time to start putting them in. All right, so let's talk about this Bitcoin situation. First thing I want to mention is a week ago, what you're looking at on this chart, these lines, this was the trade idea that I sent out on the previous Monday after my stream. Now, the trade idea, let's go in here a little bit because this is an important educational lesson. The trade idea, I want to show you what it was based on. Okay, it was based on this outside bar right here, right? That was the candle that we were getting on Monday while I was streaming. And I said, okay, that's a pretty significant reversal pattern, but there was a problem, and the problem was the location. Now, when I sent that idea out, I talked about the location being less than ideal and that it was an aggressive trade idea. Aggressive means it's not with the trend usually. Aggressive means that there's a lower chance that it's going to work out. And if it does offer any type of profit opportunity, it's going to be probably small. Aggressive trades need to be babysitted. They need to be watched constantly, and they need to be adjusted, right? They're not the same as like a more conservative trend following type of trade. So in this case, our momentum on Bitcoin and pretty much everything else is bearish, okay? Short-term trend on this thing is bearish, lower highs, lower lows. So this was a counter trend or an aggressive bullish idea, and it the trade became active, right? Once we went over 40,600, and the next day it stopped right out. You see that? Now, in the message that I sent out along with that trade idea, I said, if the next candle is red, that's not what you should see, because in a reversal type strategy, right, you need momentum. So if the next candle is not, the next candle should have been this, right? That's the next candle, what it should have been if momentum was following through. If you get anything besides that, that's not what you want to see. So that means there's no momentum, and most likely the bearish environment, which is basically what carries all the weight, is going to assert itself, or it still has a strong grasp on everything. You understand? So when you see something like this, you have to get out right away. You have to do something. Or I mean, you can leave the stop alone and just get stopped out. The thing is, you have to respect the risk. And you have to understand that there's a good chance of something like this occurring. So now since then, it's been fooling around. People that held on to this thing had a chance to maybe reduce their loss because this thing never went into the profit. But after that, party's over. Okay. Now here's the thing. Look where we are now. Bearish pin bar. That's a sell signal. So let me go to my real chart here, right? This was the chart that I sent out. These lines represent the trade idea, right? This was the entry here, the midpoint. The stop out was the lower line, and the profit target was the higher line, which is a one-to-one reward risk. That's all I'm looking for. Let's take a look at my Bitcoin chart that has my levels on it. There we go. Okay, this is the chart that I share on TradingView. Okay, when I write my analysis, this is the chart that I use. Now, on this chart, if you notice, I put a couple of new lines. Right, I put these two lines right here. I'm going to draw this rectangle to represent those two lines. You see that? These two lines. Those two lines represent the support and resistance that we can see potentially for this week. As you can see here, we're still in between, right? We haven't touched either one of those lines. Those lines basically are where the opportunities for some type of trade idea are more likely to unfold. So now, can you make fun of me and say, oh, this guy's just saying the market's just going to go higher or lower? Everyone says that. Well, no, I'm preparing for point B. So point B can either be this area here, okay, or point B can be this area up here. Those are my high probability levels. Those are the only levels I'm interested in. Everything else, as far as swing trade, I have no interest, okay? It is random noise as far as this strategy is concerned. So, as we can see, 35K is a pretty significant level to begin with. This level here happens to be 36K, just above it, right? So you have this whole area here, this whole area of support. So what this means to prepare is if price works its way to 36,000 over the next few days and produces a reversal in this area, that can prompt us for a swing trade long idea, okay? But again, you can't step in front of it. It has to confirm. Now, I had a question from James. James, as far as candlesticks go, because his question basically was, how do you get a buy signal or sell signal off of candles? Well, first of all, the candlestick by itself is meaningless, okay? It's where the candlestick appears that gives it any kind of meaningfulness. Like this is a bearish pin bar. Yeah, that's bearish. The sell signal would be a break of the low of that pin bar, okay? We focus on two reversal candle patterns, pin bars and inside bars. So this here is the pin bar, but the location is meaningless, okay? This may be good for a day trade or something like that, but I'm focused on swing trades. So this pattern in this location is meaningless. Now, if I get a bearish pin bar up in here, 40K, that can turn into a shorting opportunity. Now, as you know, I don't short Bitcoin. I'm not about to start. So, but some people, they like to short it. That would be the higher probability area to do such a thing if you can get that type of confirmation. So, James, I hope that answers your question about candlesticks. Again, it's not always the candlestick pattern. It could just be the high or low of the candle. What makes the thing a buy or sell signal is the location. So, with that being said, if we test 36K and we get a bullish pin bar, or we get a bullish inside bar, or maybe we just get a bullish candle, okay? Or maybe we just take out the high of the bearish candle, that can be a bullish a long, right? Because it's the location. I can measure my risk at that point from the low of the candle. And then, we have something to play with there. Now, here's the thing. As far as longs go, again, all longs are aggressive because we're going against the momentum. So the momentum and the price structure right now those factors favor a break of this support. All right. Not a nice magical reversal and a rally to 60K. If you're believing fake gurus every time they get excited because they see a green candle and they start with their 100K talk and all that other nonsense, you're the only one to blame. Not you, James. I'm talking about everyone. You can't fall for that nonsense. It's complete nonsense. No one knows anything, right? Markets are random. So again, what gives the level context or the reversal pattern context is the broader structure. So if the broader structure is bearish, lower highs and lower lows, all right, then we have to anticipate that shorts or support breaks or anything bearish is more likely or it's more favorable. All right. So if you have any dreams of magical rally, get them out of your mind now. Also, you have to understand the weight of the environment. Have you seen the dollar index? Have you seen the bonds? I talk about those all the time. These instruments like Bitcoin, which are highly speculative, are going nowhere in this environment because there's no speculative money to get this party going. The party is over. Okay. It's the Fed's party, the Federal Reserve. It's their party and it's over. So for now, at some point, when they change their tune and they start pumping money back into things, we'll see a change. But we haven't even started the process. All right. The Fed hasn't even started to raise the rates. They're going to start tomorrow. The bond market has priced in a lot of those aggressive rate cuts and all that kind of stuff. So as long as the bond market looks the way it looks and the dollar continues to rise, I don't know where the speculative money is going to come from. Okay. So that's all you need to focus on. All this other nonsense is just conspiracy theory nonsense. If there's no free money floating around, altcoins are especially going to get hammered. Small caps, Russell 2000, hammered because there's no money for these things. You understand? Now, and the S&P, of course, and the Nasdaq, they're going to suffer. And as you can see, they're suffering, right? The S&P, where are we at today? We're 4126 is the SPX. And, we're negative today. We were a little bit more negative, right? The futures are at 4104. We were lower than that before, right? Breaking 4100 in the S&P is not a good thing. Let me just pull that up real quick, right? Before I get to it. Look at this. So we got the bullish pin bar, but this is going long on something like this. You're going to have a lot of longs jumping in, calling the double bottom and all that. But the environment doesn't support any follow through. Does that make sense? So this is likely to get faked out. This is great for day trades and that kind of stuff, but expecting anything more than that, bad idea. All right. Same with like investing. These are not really good levels for investing because the environment doesn't support it at all. A lot of people are going to get sucked in. Oh, I'm going to buy Apple. I'm going to buy Apple because I use Apple products, right? And they're going to think, yeah, now's a good time. This thing is at this midpoint. You're going to see this pin bar probably across the board on Nasdaq and S&P heavyweights. Not a good time to be buying. All right, the environment doesn't support it. Bond market, real quick. Bond market. Look at this. The bond market. This is the 10-year note. Okay, 10-year note futures about to push the low. That means rates are still rising dramatically. There's not going to be any magical rally. All right, just, I don't mean to be like overly bearish or pessimistic. You just have to go by the facts and you have to be rational about what the market's saying. All right, I listen to the market. I don't have an opinion. All right, now so that's my Bitcoin analysis. We're looking for those two levels, and there's going to be action. That's where I'm looking for swing trade action at one of those levels. It's either 36K or 40K. Okay, and if it's 36K and we get the reversal, then my expectations are going to be very low. If I can get 1-to-1 from there, I'll be very happy with that. If you think you're going to get more than that, you're just asking for trouble. All right. So let's get into your questions here. How long have I? Okay, I'm about on usual time. I want to be able to spend more time on your questions. I want to spend, I want to only do this. I can only do this for like an hour. All right. So anyway, let me go on to your questions. So I'm going to begin here with Eligius. Eligius. All right, rare question for me, but what are your opinion about, okay, ARGT or Argentina ETF? Argentina, well, you're talking basically about like the Argentina economy, that kind. I mean, that's, I would imagine that this thing is a reflection of. Look at this. It's sporadic. The chart is kind of useless. Let's go to a weekly chart. All right. I mean, what's my opinion of that? Well, the general trend is higher lows and higher highs, right? Broader trend. Midterm is range bound. You're in the midpoint of the range, right? But you have to understand too, something like this, you have to consider other global factors like the S&P situation, right? And the fact that we're in a rising rate environment. Do you think all these other banks that are going to have their rate announcements this week, they all usually follow the Federal Reserve, usually, right? They do something similar. So if banks are going to raise across the globe, everything is going to suffer. So this wouldn't be a place, I would not touch this, something like this here, right? If anything, wait for the low, okay? Wait for a test of low on the weekly on something like that if you're going to do anything with it. But yeah, I don't know. And that's usually not known to be a very stable economic country to begin with, right? So I don't really have much of an opinion, but that's what the chart says. All right. Hey, Kai, Brent crude. All right. Let's see. Well, Brent, you know, let me see if I can, it looks like regular crude, right? So look, WTI, I'm going to use WTI. It's the same chart. And so it doesn't matter if it's Brent. The price might be slightly different, but the pattern is the same. Now look at this. This thing has been strong relatively compared to a super strong dollar. Look at the dollar index. I mean, it's still on its highs. Look at this. Look at the red candle, right? Today's candle. Friday's candle. Look at today's inside bar. This thing is going to squeeze higher. That's what the chart's saying on the dollar. And with that being said, you have oil positive today, right? This oil is strong. So that relative strength means as soon as the dollar pulls back, this thing is going to go berserk, right? So I certainly won't. So a couple of things right off the bat: no shorts in oil. Do not short oil. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing, looking for longs, you have a consolidation in here, right? This is basically a higher low consolidation. You can even characterize that as a wave 4. That's what wave 4s often look like, right? If you want to count the waves. But going all the way back to December, 1, 2, this is a typical of a 3, very long and dramatic, okay? Wave 4, consolidation, nowhere near the top of wave 1, this wave 1. So that all fits. This is a very dramatic and very broad wave 4, which means there's still a wave 5 potentially to follow on something like this. That's what the chart says. Now, whether we get something like that or not is another story, but this thing is relatively strong, right? So unless there's some kind of geopolitical change, they change oil production or something, you know how that goes, or the US releases all of its reserves or some kind of political nonsense, then that can affect the price. But this thing right here is saying that it's generally strong, right? Also, you have a bullish pin bar today. So what do you do with something like this? I'd be looking for long signals. One thing, you get a breakout over here, that could be the beginning of the wave 5. In fact, wave 5 may be in play now. This could be 1, 2, right? You may be in the third portion of it, possibly beginning. I don't know. I don't stick to those Elliott waves until they're super clear. And, you can't go by a wave 1 or 2. There has to be 4 waves in place at least. So, yeah. So definitely bullish. If you want to play, buying this thing right now is aggressive because you're near this resistance. But clearly, there's a lot of strength behind this, right? So your risk would be defined by the pin bar low. The structure is defined by this low and this low right here. That's your structural low. So as long as it stays above 94, I guess it's $94 there, that area, this thing is likely to stay strong, okay? So either you're looking for support at 94 or the mid 90s, or you're trying to grab onto like one of these momentum breakouts on something like that, okay? Either way, it's strong. This might be a good options play too. All right, let me jump over to the other chat. All right, I got a bunch of people over here, and I appreciate everyone's questions. All right, so we got, let me just read through the, okay, freely, I know we got that one. Okay, so you mentioned that Bitcoin will need a change in its cycle. No, not Bitcoin. What I meant by that is the bonds, the entire business cycle needs to change. Okay, so the dollar and the bonds is what I was referring to. Can you elaborate on what some sign caused precipitate such a change in BTC? Okay, so again, maybe I wasn't clear on sometimes when I write those articles, I write them quickly, and sometimes I'm not clear on my points. For Bitcoin to change its tune, right, we need speculative money to come back into the system. Speculative money comes from the Federal Reserve, right? When they lower rates, when they make money easy to borrow, right, easy to come by. So like they've done over the previous 2 years, the Fed is now on the opposite side of that. They're taking money out. So the changes that I'm talking about for Bitcoin to start to change its story, along with all the altcoins, along with the other speculative assets, is we need to see a bottom in the bond market, and that bottom needs to prove itself. Okay, we haven't even begun to bottom yet. That's what I mean. And that bottom is not going to start to develop until the Fed starts hinting, right? Because the bond market is usually about 4 or 5 months ahead. The bond market turn, right, that we saw, the bond market reversed bullish about 4 or 5 months before Powell came out and said he was going to start raising rates. He changed his mind in December. The bond market knew somehow in August. Okay, the bond market knew, and the bond market was rallying before the guy said anything. And then in December, he comes out, I was wrong about transitory inflation. We have inflation, so I'm going to raise rates. The party's over. And he made sure he said that after he got reappointed to his job. Anyway, the point is that process that I'm talking about with Bitcoin is going to require a bottoming in the bond market. And that bottoming process can take weeks or months to develop. Okay, I'm going to say that again, months, not one day, not one candle, months. So it's going to be some time. That's why I'm not in any hurry. Don't be in any hurry about Bitcoin 100,000. Of course, some other catalyst can come out and change the story, but I don't know what catalyst that's going to be. What is Elon Musk going to come out and say, I'm buying Bitcoin. I'm just going to buy all of it. I bought Twitter, and now I'm going to buy all the Bitcoin I can. Something like that may get a rally going, but you're fighting the Fed right now, okay? And the Fed controls the world. It just, that when you have the world reserve currency, you control the world, right? So that's the change I'm talking about. And we'll see that change, right? The Fed is not going to raise rates forever. At some point, the Fed is going to say, okay, we've raised enough. Now we're going to stop. And that's going to be the beginning, right? That'll be the first part. And then at some point, if the Fed, if it becomes obvious that the Fed is going to have to lower rates, then you will see the Bitcoin rally find sustainability. Does that make sense? So again, be prepared to wait like a year or two. All right. G Simone, hey, good to see you. Milad, the screen. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you there. If you have problems with the screen, yeah, you have to refresh the browser. All right, so this guy over here, Nugget Trouble. I went over oil, so I answered that one. I actually covered the 10-year note. Okay, so you want Apple and the Qs and Euro. I'll pick one of those other ones at some point. Let's see. I'll do the Euro. All right, but let me see what other questions I have. Okay. Yeah, you guys have to refresh the screen. I tried, but can't hear though. All right, I'm not sure what that's about. I don't see it. Let me see. Am I getting any complaints anywhere else? Let me see. Okay. I don't see any other complaints. Yeah, on TradingView, you have to refresh the screen. I guess people are trying that and it's not working. I don't know, but I see it working on my side here. All right. So anyway, sorry about that. Let me see. Weird. Do you use? Okay. What do you think of Palladium? All right, let's take a look. What's going on over here on TradingView? All right. Yeah, people try, if you can't see, try refreshing the screen again, or maybe it's the browser, maybe it's the browser type that you're using. Maybe it's not as smooth on all the other browsers. I don't know. Not sure what to tell you there, but I don't see any problem here. Okay, so let me run through Palladium. Let's see. Palladium, do I have a CFD for that? I'm sure I do. Let's see. Used to be a popular dance club back in the day in New York City. All right, this is XPD USD. Probably no one remembers that. So look at this situation, right? Here's Palladium. Let's look at the weekly. Now, this thing is going to be affected by other factors. You have to watch with something like this. You have to watch gold, because gold is sort of like the leader of the space, right? Where is gold? Let's take a look at gold real quick, right? So gold's come off its high, okay? And look, Gold, where's gold right now? Minus 34 points at what's that, 1862? Going back into this old support area. In the face of a strong dollar, what can you expect, right? So something like palladium, what was that again? Hold on. Palladium XPD. Okay. XPD USD. So on something like palladium, you have to expect a similar behavior. Okay. Not exact, but similar. Notice it peaked kind of like the same way gold peaked. And now look, it's messing around near this old support. So you're fighting a strong dollar. Metals don't like a strong dollar. I don't care how industrial the metal is. I don't care how much of a shortage of the metal there is. They say silver is going to be at 300. I don't see silver anywhere near 300. These things are going to suffer. Okay. So here you are at the midpoint of this range. Is this a good place for longs? Well, theoretically, you're at a support, but the thing is, you're in the midpoint of this range. So taking longs here, it's going to be aggressive, and you shouldn't expect much from them, right? So in this situation, where's your support? You're looking at, what is this? 2056, okay? That's your support. You have a lower high. This thing is consolidating. There's no specific trend here on the over the recent time, right? We could say our midterm trend is range bound. It's not bullish anymore because you have these lower highs. So there's your range, okay? And most recent price action, you have a lower high developing. It's starting to get bearish, but you have this support coming back around that 2000 level. So perhaps that will give you an opportunity for a very aggressive swing trade long. Otherwise, stay away from it because you're fighting a strong dollar, all right? And that's the key thing you have to focus on. Metals and other, things like gold and things like cotton and all those things, they trade against the dollar, right? So a stronger dollar means you're going to see weakness in a lot of them. Now, oil is another story, but oil is a geopolitical thing, right? So oil can be affected by a lot of other things, and oil is acting strong, all right? So the dollar should be putting pressure on oil, and it's not. So that's an interesting piece of information. All right, so anyway, that's palladium. Thanks for asking. Let me jump through the euro real quick because I had that euro question. Now, the euro is inverse of the dollar index, okay? There's nothing bullish about the euro. There's no reason to buy the euro anytime soon. This thing's getting hammered. This is the euro on the weekly chart, okay? Some people are going to think, oh, there's supports nearby. I'm going to buy supports, right? Seinfeld is stupid. Oh, I'm going to buy the euro. But this is not a good time to be buying the euro, all right? Yes, it's a low, but what you should be looking for on something like this is the next resistance, not supports. Supports are breaking, all right? And with the dollar index and the Fed behind it, because that's who's behind the dollar index, these things are not going to rally with any type of sustainability anytime soon. So where's your resistance on the euro? It's around 107, 107 and a half, that area right there. So any test of this area on the euro will likely be a sell signal or a sell setup. All right, possibly it may test a lower price and give you the reversal there, but this would be your structural resistance. If you want to get more of a theoretical resistance, you can start measuring like this. You can use this. All right, I'm not going to explain this right here. I've explained it many times to my people. You can measure from here, right? Look where your resistance is there. You have this area right here. Okay, so that would be another area to consider. What is that? Low 107. That's the 107 and a half area. Okay, so now the smaller movements that you measure, the less reliable they're going to be and the more aggressive they are. This would be your most aggressive resistance right in here, right? And that's around 107.38 to 106.35. In that area right there, you may get a setup to go short. Right now, if you take out the low of this current candle or the previous candle, that's going to be a momentum continuation signal, right? Which means lower prices. Now, how much lower it goes, who knows? Okay, you can do some projections. We can look back at old supports and see. I mean, we broke through this one, right? The one at 109 or 110. So where's the next one? Man, we haven't been at these levels for quite some time. So you're looking at, what is this around here? 104, what is that? 103-ish, right? Those are the levels. Those are the next levels where this thing can can test before it finds any type of support. All right, does that make sense? Again, you're following the dollar index here. This is the inverse of the dollar index. All right, so good question. Let me move along here. So I'm just going to go back on the chat. Sorry if I missed your question. If I missed your question, just ask me again. All right. Peter says, just waiting for a big pullback. Yeah, well, it's possible. It's coming. GMT. All right. So GMT is one I've been following GMT. Someone, in fact, pointed GMT out in the stream here over the previous couple of weeks. Maybe it was you, Douglas. I don't know. But this is a nice looking chart considering what the rest of the space looks like, right? Clear. Now, look, I pointed this out before, the Elliott wave pattern. 1, right? This is 2 right there. That's wave 2. Okay. 3. This is wave 4. Consolidation, right? Wave 5. This is wave 5. Now, I talked about this. When you have 5 waves in place, you do not buy these things. Okay. If you can clearly count 5 waves, the party is over. Now, what's this? What is that? Is that, it's a higher high. Should that occur? You can have a corrective wave make a higher high in Elliott wave. It's possible, right? This can basically be, right, your A, this is your B wave, right? Because these can be 3-wave structures. That's your B wave, and this can be C, right? As far as your first corrective structure is concerned, that could be that way. Now, I'm not going to place trades on that information, but it helps. It certainly helps as far as shaping expectations. In either way, if I have 5 waves in place, I know better not to buy. Now, I am interested in this coin as far as a swing trade long because the momentum has been nice and bullish. You have a support coming up here at what, $3, $3.04, around there, okay? And you have this area here, which is what, around 2.5, 267. So I'm going to be watching those locations for possible reversals, maybe for a quick momentum type of trade. We have to see. But at this moment, there's nothing to do here. We have potential pullback. I don't step into these pullbacks because, you know why? Here's why. I'm going to show you why you don't step into these. I always tell you not to, but here's a nice example. This is why you don't step into a pullback, right? This is waves. Remember this? Remember this? People, oh, waves is going to go to the moon. Waves is going to be the next Bitcoin. Not quite. Okay, so imagine you stepped into that, oh, look, I'm going to buy it up here because it's pulling back. Right, and it gave back, what, more than 50% of that move? So that's why you don't step in front of anything. Anyway, that was another one I'm watching, but not going to do anything with that anytime soon. So GMT, USD. So anyway, as far as GMT goes, I like the structure generally for a bullish, for a swing trade long, but I'm going to be watching it carefully, especially since these things they tend to be followers. They'll do their own thing temporarily, but if Bitcoin breaks 35K, none of these things are going anywhere. Okay, understand something about these garbage coins, because this is just nothing but another garbage coin. They're all the same. They're hyped, and I mean, I was looking through some chat rooms recently on this platform that we're on now. There are over 25,000 chat rooms that have something to do with investment type material, right? Over 25,000 chat rooms. Think about that for a minute. That's a lot of chat rooms, right? So, and some of these chat rooms have 10,000 members or 5,000 members. They have thousands of members. So think about how easy it can be to get some nonsense going, right? To get some herd mentality going by just hyping something in a series of these chat rooms, especially if they coordinate. So that's why, look, I don't want to discourage people from working with these things, but understand what's driving them and understand that you have to take money out when you can. And so be careful with these, right? There's nothing but hype and nonsense. And they get something going until they can't get it going anymore. They all get out, and then you get stuck with it. So taking advantage of momentum is one thing, but thinking that you just bought something and it's going to go to 40,000 is something else, okay? All right, anyway, so good question. That was GMT. I hope I got the right one, right? I get that right? Or GPB. Oh, no, that was GMT, right? Okay, so James, I'll get to you in a minute. Let me jump over to the other chat here. Let me see what we got. So just going back here, weird. Okay. What do you think of, okay, went over Palladium. Okay. All right. Seems that Michael Saylor sold a lot of Bitcoin through a new subsidiary created Macro Strategy. Oh, yeah. Okay. Transferred his BTC and then sold at the top while publicly saying he was buying it with MicroStrategy. Someone followed his Bitcoin addresses. Can't believe how much. Well, that's interesting, Alex. But that's the nature of the game. Okay. That's why I tell people never listen to anyone publicly, ever listen to anyone, because there's no incentive for them to tell you the truth, right? Unless they're going to benefit from it somehow, right? So if they want to get out of something, usually they come out publicly and say, oh, I'm buying oil, or I'm buying this and I'm buying that. Meanwhile, they're selling it. They've bought and they're selling it to you, right? So that's usually how that goes. That's an old game, but people, they're mindless. They don't know any better, and they react to information like that. That's the power of, all of this informational technology. Things like the mainstream news, that they've been capitalizing on this for a long time, right? This nonsense and hype. They basically act as amplifiers, and now we have thousands of chat rooms that do the same thing, or people on YouTube hyping complete nonsense and getting paid for it. That's where the incentives are, right? You're better off, instead of trying to invest in these things, you're better off becoming a fake guru, okay? Build a following and then get paid to push garbage coins on people because they pay you really well to do that. All right. Anyway, that's where the incentives are. Okay, let's see. What are your personal feelings next month or event, or even the next one in FTs regarding overall financial markets? If this question is answerable, I don't have an opinion. So people ask me, what do you think? All I know is the environment is bearish. It's bearish right now, and it's bearish for certain factors. Okay, Federal Reserve, right, raising rates. The bond market, we have some geopolitical tensions, right? We have inflationary problems and blah 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 blah, right? But the main thing is the Federal Reserve. That's what I'm watching. And until they change their tune, I'm going to remain more on the bearish side. So I don't know how long that's going to go on for. It may go on for less than 2 years or a year or a few months, whatever. But the signs will come from them. And that's when I adjust. You see, I'm a follower. I listen to the markets. I don't have opinions. I don't try to assert my ideas because the market doesn't care what I think, right? So that's the information I'm looking at. When they change their tune and I see evidence developing in the bond market, then I'll start to change my perception, right? I'll start to change. But right now, as far as long-term investing, bad idea, because a lot of these stocks are going to be a lot cheaper as long as we stay in this rising dollar environment. Anything that trades against the dollar is going to have a hard time. That's it. It's that simple. Okay. So let me see what else we got here. So those are my personal feelings, but I usually don't really have I don't know if feelings is the right word, but that's my perception. That's my outlook. And until the Fed changes their story and until I see it in the bonds, I'm going to continue to believe that that's the case. All right. And AZ waves, there's just no information on it. No. As far as Elliott wave, again, look, what's happening next? Right? See that question there? What's happening next? What's happening next? It's not about what's happening next. It's about letting the market decide that and then being prepared for that. Okay? Let the market figure out point A to point B. Elliott wave gives me a roadmap that gives me a sense of, okay, if I have 4 waves in place, it's reasonable to expect the wave 5. If I have 5 waves in place, it's reasonable to expect a broad correction to follow. It's that simple. There's nothing else that I'm looking at, okay, when it comes to that. Now, if the market gives me a new piece of information, then I have to factor that in. But that's it, okay? I'll let the market figure it out. I'm open to anything. If the market wants to do something irrational and dramatic, I'm open to that. But what I'm focused on are the levels and anticipating the levels in advance. I don't know which level the market will go to. The market will choose, okay? But I can at least predetermine potential levels, and I can prepare for what can happen at those levels. That's all I'm interested in, right? Trades often begin around the level. Now, the reason why we do all this other analysis around the level is to give the level some sort of context and reasonable expectations. Like, for example, if I have a support level, we should buy support, right? We should buy support. But is that support part of a bearish trend? Or is that, what is that support part of? What's the overall context of that support? Does price get to that support? And if it does get there, how does it behave? Does it give me a reversal, like a clean cut reversal? Is that reversal, like an outside bar, is that reversal within a broader bearish trend? If it is, it carries a lot less weight. That's why I do all the other analysis, okay? And that's why things like, oscillators and all that stuff, they're not very helpful for that type of situation. All right, anyway, so good question. All right, hello from welcome. All right, cool. It's always nice to see people from, I don't think I've ever seen Kosovo before in here. Cool, thanks you for joining. All right, so pound Aussie. Let me see, James, pound Aussie, GBP. Now, again, remember, both these countries have their rate announcements, right? Like I said, Bank of Australia is tomorrow, and we have the pound on Thursday, right? The Bank of England on Thursday. So pound against Aussie. Let's take a look here. Quick view of the weekly. I mean, these things, when these cross pairs are a lot of times they're very messy, right? So, I mean, bearish, look at this bearish structure, broke support, possible lower high developing. It came off of this other support here. What's the support here? Going back, what is that? It's 1.769, that area right there, okay? So let's go back to the daily chart and what to make of this. So with that being said, it's trying to change its structure. It took out some minor resistances, right? Now you're looking at the pound against the Aussie. So if this thing is going higher, that means the pound must be moving higher or faster than the Aussie in whatever way it's moving, right? So in a situation like this, what do you do? Which structure carries more weight? Well, we can't ignore this bearish movement, right? We can't ignore that. So while we have some little higher lows and this and that, I don't know. I wouldn't be too optimistic about this thing as a long. You have a resistance right there, and it looks like it may be giving you a double top, okay, and a possible sell signal right there on the pound Aussie. So I would be considering shorts, at least in, a swing trade short. But again, keep in mind, you have 2 rate announcements coming out this week that can affect this thing dramatically. All right, so just something to keep in mind. I mean, maybe the rate announcement knocks the wind out of this thing and this thing breaks lower, but this structure right here can be a lower high, okay, relative to that broader structure. This structure right here, especially if you measure something like this, I mean, look at that, you're still below the 382, right? So this thing can be a lower high. That's what I have to say about that. So I wouldn't be overly bullish about it. I would be more on the bear side, but just keep in mind, you're fighting some minor momentum here. So there's 2 ways, I'll say there's 2 ways you can go about this. You could take the aggressive short, right? The double top, if this thing breaks the low of this current red candle, or you can wait till that support breaks, okay? And then either short that break or wait for the next lower high after that break. Does that make sense? So that's pound Aussie. All right, thanks for asking, James. All right, Matt. Can the Nasdaq still bounce here? I took an aggressive swing trade long in AMD, and almost not sure. Okay, Matt. So Nasdaq, right, NSX USD. Nasdaq is not. Look, here's the thing. So we've had a lot of company reports. I don't know how many are scheduled for this week. The quarterly reports. You should also keep an eye on that, especially if you're in a company that's reporting. The Nasdaq is trying to put in this double bottom, it looks like, right? This is the Nasdaq 100 CFD. But wow, look, the S&P is back up 4150. Is that right? Man, that was quite a turnaround. All right, so here's the thing. You have this thing fighting, right? It's fighting for this double bottom here. If you're in an AMD long, right? AMD is obviously going to reflect the Nasdaq. Look. It's kind of doing a similar thing. Obviously, that's an important support level. I have a line there. That line has been there for a while, probably. Let's see the weekly chart in AMD. Oh, yeah, look at that. That's a pretty significant level, right? Dating back some time. So, yeah, it's definitely an aggressive. You have it categorized correctly. It's definitely an aggressive swing trade. So here's the thing. Use the Nasdaq as your gauge. The Nasdaq right now, this is a nice candle, certainly what you want to see today, right? The close of this candle, break the high of the candle. If that can break, then you're looking at a new buy signal. So you might as well try to give that AMD a chance. But here's the thing, right? The Nasdaq has resistance all over here. So if you can get some green out of your AMD, don't expect too much out of it, right? That's, I guess, the best thing I can suggest is see if the Nasdaq can give you that bounce, and then look to get out. Don't expect a run all the way back to, like, what's the high over there? 15,000. Don't even, that would be unrealistic, especially in this environment. Does that make sense? I mean, we're struggling on these lows, and there's a good chance that we break these lows. So any green that you can get, take it, and just be careful with those aggressive trades. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Hey, so we got Winter. Good to see you, Scott. Hey, Scott Alexander. Nice to see you. All right. We got Bill from New Smyrna Beach. Cool. I'd like to be there. Can you look at Root? Okay. So Alex asked about Root. Root is a stock. Okay. Let's see. Root. Not familiar with this one. Let's take a look at the weekly. All right. And oh man, Root got rooted. So look at this. Look at this. Damn. Look at this thing. This thing is a mess, right? That's nothing but bearish, bearish, bearish. Okay. That's the bigger picture. Now, more recent price action, right? This thing has been consolidating. So basically the selling activity has come off, and now you're looking at this range. Okay. Basically, you're looking at this range. At this point, you're like fooling around at the midpoint of the range. So nothing to do here. If you're interested in something like this, for one, while it's trying, it's trying to establish a double bottom. I don't know what they do, but if they're a growth stock, I mean, how much is this thing? $1.90. So most likely this is not a large cap value stock. Okay, if it's a growth stock, there's not much potential in it. I don't care what they do. I don't care how magical they are. And you're looking. So if you're going to get involved in something like this, you need to avoid resistance areas. All right, avoid these areas, because this is where people are likely to jump back in and sell. You also have like this resistance over here. If you're interested in a long, be selective, be patient, and wait for supports. You're more likely to test the 138, maybe 125 area over the next few weeks, based on the way this environment is going. I don't care if the S&P has like one nice day or a couple of nice days. Until we see a change in that bond market, these things are going nowhere. Okay, especially these. So I think it's okay to be very patient and just wait for a much better level. If you're trying, even if you're trying to accumulate a position, if you're trying to build some inventory, why do it here when you're most likely to get a better price? Keep in mind, if this broader trend continues to assert itself, you're more likely to break that support. Okay, so keep that in mind when dealing with something like this. So good question. All right, let me move along here. Let me see what I got. What else do I got here? How am I doing with time? Okay, I still got some time. So just going through the questions here. Can you have a look at HTUSD? HTUSDT. Let's see. Huobi. So the exchange, Huobi, right? I mean, look at this. Wow, talk about a consolidation going nowhere, right? This is the weekly chart. All right, man. I wonder who got stuck in this one. Look at this mess. So this is, look, this is just, there's nothing going on here. This thing's out of play. You can't, this is a higher low. We can argue that that's a higher low, but this is just it's like Binance coin, right? I mean, so it's going to be subject to whatever manipulation or whatever nonsense that they pump on this thing. Keep that in mind. Technical analysis is not going to be as helpful. The thing is sitting there. So what to do with that? It can go either way, right? There's really not much you can do with this here. That's the weekly. So the daily chart, let's go back to the daily chart. And I mean, there's nothing, I don't know what to tell you about this one. So if you're interested in picking up some, wait for the range low, right? Your range low is 839. Right now, this thing is at 946. So if you're looking to sell some, perhaps you can get some off at 10.5. Those are your range boundaries. Other than that, I wouldn't expect much from this, right? look, take a look at this, right? Is it total 3? Look at something like this. Total 3. Oh, Bart, hey, thanks for sending me 100 coins. You don't have to do that. You know, I can't use these coins on these TradingView coins. You know, if they were like convertible to dollars or something, that would be cool. But anyway, I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, I thought those were no longer in circulation. Anyway, take a look at this thing, right? Total 3. So this thing excludes. Actually, let's look at just total. In fact, I think Kai is the one that turned me on to this. This is your market cap of the entire space. Okay, so until this thing changes, it looks like Bitcoin. Looks just like it. Until this thing changes, garbage coins like Huobi and all the other nonsense coins out there, they're going nowhere. This thing does not look healthy at all. Okay, it tried to bounce. It's most likely going to test these supports and possibly break them if the S&P breaks. Now the S&P is trying to reverse today, but one day means nothing. It's the environment that matters, not one day. Okay, and the environment, I don't see any changes in the environment. Environmental changes can take weeks or months. So just something to keep in mind, right? Keep an eye on that. That's going to, when this thing turns around and starts changing its tune, right? That'll be a reflection of what's going on. And most likely a lot of the altcoins will reverse and start doing positive things again when this thing turns. Does that make sense? Don't go by individual candles. Look at the overall environment. All right, so I hope that helps. Okay, so that was Huobi. All right, let me see what else we got here. From Athens, Greece. Oh, welcome. All right, cool. Greece. I don't get too many guys from Greece here. I get mistaken for Greek sometimes. I'm not Greek. But yeah, people think I'm Greek. Anyway, all right. So I'm streaming from New Jersey, by the way, northern New Jersey, very close to New York City. That's why I talk like this sometimes. XRP. So XRP, let's go to the weekly. XRP is just another garbage coin, right? Looks very similar to that total chart that I just showed you. We're all coming back to these supports, right? Most of these altcoins are probably going to look very similar. Notice this. What is this? 66 even, right? Testing that support. There's no buy signal in sight, and we're not in a supportive environment. So chances are the support is going to break. I don't care if we get one candle higher. I don't care if we get a little rally over a couple of days. It's all nonsense. Watch for that support to break. If you're interested in buying this thing, either wait for the support, right? I don't have too much optimism with these. Either wait for the support or wait for a better support, right? What would a better support be on something like this? I mean, let's see. You're looking at these lower levels here, dating back to this time here. You're looking at, what is this? 24 cents, something like that. You know, and again, even if you get involved at those levels, it's not like it's going to just bounce at your level and everyone's going to be happy. You have to understand that until the environment changes, I have to keep repeating that. Until the environment changes, you can't expect much out of these. So if you want to build inventory while everyone is hating them and everyone's banging out of them or getting leveraged out of them, then you know it's an opportunity to do something like that. But you have to build small, because keep in mind, something like this, right? It's at 60 cents. This thing can go to 30 cents. Then it can go to 15 cents, right? It can happen. So you don't want to buy, you know, invest $10,000 worth at 60 cents and then watch it go to 15 cents, right? If you're going to do that, invest $1,000 a month. And at least as it goes lower and lower, you're averaging in at better prices. But again, most of these altcoins they're not going to go anywhere anyway. So if you're going to play that inventory game, you might as well play it with a leader like Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like that, okay? Otherwise, these things, if you want to invest in long term, I'm not a big fan of these coins because most of them are garbage. They don't solve any real problems. They're just full of hype, and they're just basically a way for developers to get rich. So these are not investment grade assets. You want an investment grade asset, you go look at the stock market. There's plenty of them there. And as they're getting beat up over the next year, there's probably going to be some good buying opportunities, okay, in real investment grade assets, not these garbage coins. I know people still have this dream that they're going to get rich with altcoins. That's just like a one-time thing. That's like a lottery ticket, all right? So I'm sorry to tell you. Anyway, so that's XRP. All right, let me jump over to the other chat here. Let me see how I'm doing. All right, got a few more minutes. Steen from Belgium. All right, cool. I said hello. You're in the other chat, right? Look at MHK. All right, let's take a look. MHK. Is this a stock? I guess it is. How much is this thing? $145. I hope I got the right stock. All right, let's take a look here. Weekly chart. So here's the weekly chart. Now, the general trend, it's got that nice move higher, right? Now, this bearish movement that we've had over recent time, notice it basically turned there, okay? Why is that significant? Because look where it goes back to. That's a wave 4 bottom because it has not overlapped that initial wave, okay? So again, that's where Elliott wave can be somewhat helpful, because if this is an impulse structure, which basically that's what that's saying, because it's not overlapped, hasn't overlapped wave 1, then a wave 5 can follow. Wave 5 needs to take out the high of wave 3 to confirm, right? That's a long ways from here. So there's a lot of bullish potential in something like this. Now, again, I don't know what they do. This is the weekly chart, but just keep in mind, you're still fighting a bearish stock market, right? So what do you do in something like this? Well, you can wait for conservative buy signals in something like this and see if there's any follow through. Where would your next conservative buy signal be? I don't know what this story is here. Perhaps they had a report or something. I don't know why you have a gap and then this erratic price action. I don't know what that is. All right, but in a situation like this, right, you want to look for supports and resistance. There's a support right there. You have this level right here, which was a resistance. I'm not sure if we could say that that's broken. I mean, what is that? 148 area. Price is at 145. It's up basically $5 today. So in a situation like this, I mean, perhaps you can get the higher low in here somewhere. That's the midpoint of the range. But if this thing is generally going to be strong, it's better than buying the high. I'm not a big fan of the midpoints, but sometimes that's where it goes. Plus you have a gap. Gaps can act as a support or a resistance. In this case, a support. So it's either that or back to test of this low here. If you can get another test of that low, that would be a high probability area for a reversal. If you can get a reversal there, especially if this is a wave 4 bottom, that would be like the best place to get involved for a swing trade at least. And then you have a lot of bullish potential, right? Before it even gets anywhere, those would be the best prices. So will it go back to those prices? I have no idea. It's about being prepared if it goes back. Does that make sense? So I hope that answers your question. I mean, the general trend looks bullish. You're going to have to clear this resistance. So another thing you can do, if you don't want to wait for all that, perhaps this thing breaks, right? It breaks and pulls back, right? If you can get a breakout and a pull back to this old resistance, which would act as a new support at 148, that may also give you a buying opportunity, at least for a swing trade. Does that make sense? Okay, so thank you for asking about Mohawk. What else we got here? About buying PSQ or SQQQ, a reverse ETF on the QQQ. So SQQQ is the short, right? It's the leverage short. SQQQ, right? Is this the leverage short? Yeah, pro shares ultra short. So these are tricky, okay? I'm not a big fan of these because they're very hard to play with. You're using like 3 times the leverage on something like this, and you want to buy it. I mean, look where you are. But again, something like this, you're not going to use this chart to trade the SQQQ. You're going to use the Nasdaq because it's a derivative of this, right? So you're basically buying that is basically like shorting the bottom, and you got a buy signal developing right off the bottom. So no, now is not a good time. All right, if you're going to buy something like that, you need the Nasdaq to rally to a resistance and reverse, right? So this is your resistance area on the Nasdaq. You're looking at basically 13.7 to like 13.5, that area on the Nasdaq. That would be your sell zone if it can get there, and reverse. It needs to give you a sell signal there. That would be your cue for SQQQ. All right, does that make sense? All right. Q in S. Yeah. Okay. Never mind. Bad joke. All right. So let me move along here. I got a few more minutes, and then I'm going to wrap this up. Let me see. Okay. You are totally correct about everything you just said. You have to be careful and do your own. Right. Yeah, I mean that's just the case. But people, they're impatient, they're irrational, they just want action, they just want to make money, they want to gamble. Have you seen all the casino apps that are available today for like sports gambling, or even the major casinos like MGM and Caesars and all them? They all have apps, right? And at least in the state of New Jersey, you can actually get these things on your phone and gamble. You can actually do slot machines on your phone. I mean, talk about gambling mentality, right? That's nuts. Anyway, all right, cool. Hey, Jay, good to see you. Could you take a look at VDE Energy, an energy ETF? All right, let's take a look at that real quick. What's the story there? Now, as we know, oil's been strong. Energy, look at this thing. That's a nice ETF, right? Energy's been strong. We know that. Look at this. Look at the weekly chart. So bullish all over the place. We have this pullback here. We have an inside bar, right? Again, this is a weekly, so we get the whole week for that to play out. But as far as longs go, I mean, you'd have to at least be thinking long, especially with that. We looked at that oil consolidation, right? If oil breaks out, this thing is probably going to be more beneficial to the bull side. Keep in mind, geopolitical pressures, right, are probably the catalyst behind this. If those lay off, watch out, okay? But as long as those are in effect, then you have some potential here. At least you have a catalyst behind you. So in this situation, I mean, I'd be looking for buy signals on something like this. If you break this current high at 106.53, perhaps you get like some follow through there. But this location is not exactly ideal, right? But you are on something that's basically being supported on the bull side. So it's either that aggressive long. And if you look for that, I mean, you're looking for a test of this high, which is within reason, okay? Or you're looking for a retest of this low for a nice double bottom, right? Look at this beautiful pin bar. So, when you want to see, if you get something like that and you get it here again a second time, that would be a nice spot for a long, and that would probably be a good reflection for energy stocks and oil itself. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that, especially if oil breaks out, which it looks like it's trying to do. All right, which is amazing in the face of a very strong dollar. The dollar can't hold it back. So obviously there's a lot of pressure there. All right, so good question on that one. Thanks, Jay. Good. Okay, I'm a newbie. Please look at SLP USD. All right, Bitcoin looks like it's a wedge. Yeah. All right, hold on. So let me see. What is that? What is that here? You have SLP USD. What is this thing here? Smooth love potion. When do they come up with these? All right, talk about meme coin. Yeah, lower highs, lower lows. Obviously, it's smooth, but it's not loved. Okay, there's some smoothness there, but it's bearish. Look at that. Lower highs, lower lows. Wouldn't go near this thing for a long. Wouldn't even think about it. That's a weekly chart. Wouldn't even think about it. There's no reason to go long. Now, look, I'm all about being contrarian, right, and doing the opposite of what's obvious. I'm all about that. But when you have an environment that doesn't support these things, and you have something that looks like that, I would not take this seriously. Okay, it's garbage. It's a garbage coin, whatever it is. It's a meme coin. You might as well buy SHIB while you're at it, right? Buy SHIB and buy Dogecoin while you're at it too. All right. So anyway, that's that one real quick. All right, a couple more minutes. Let me jump over to this other chat here. So, okay, Thomas, good to see you. All right. Thoughts on potential Bitcoin to stocks, possibly. All right. So, Thomas, as far as Bitcoin and separating from the stocks, I don't know. That relationship with Bitcoin and the stocks, I believe it's because of the institutional involvement. I could be wrong, because Bitcoin used to be its own thing back when it was pure retail. But ever since the institutions took over, now magically the S&P seems to be the leader of Bitcoin. Bitcoin just seems to be another S&P component, right? So until I see evidence of that, I have no opinions about how it's going to change or when it's going to change. It either changes and I can see those changes. Otherwise, I assume it's there until it's not there. All right, that's usually how these relationships work with these market things. All right, so at some point maybe it will change, but until then, I have to suspect that it stays intact. Okay. Now okay, Turkey. All right, welcome. What is your take on GRT USD? All right, GRT USDT. Let's take a look. So again, a lot of these coins with Bitcoin, being vulnerable as it is, a lot of these coins are going to feel the pain. Look at this. So just going back here, let's take a look at that bigger picture. It's basically been one big consolidation for quite some time, right? After everyone bought the top and you made the developers rich, okay, up there, it's been garbage ever since. Notice that? So any of these little blips, you have to understand, again, if you see like a blip like this and everyone gets excited and your favorite fake guru comes out and says that this thing is going to triple by next week because early investors are going to make billions, you know, that nonsense, right? That usually comes out when you see a couple of green candles like this on the weekly, and then it gives it back, right? It's all nonsense. So you're back at that low, and I would suspect that that low is going to break. I would not touch these things. If we were in a bullish environment, if we were in a more speculative environment, then sure, I'd be interested. Oh, we have double bottoms all over the place. Great. But these bottoms are likely to break, especially with the vulnerability of the S&P and Bitcoin. No way. So yes, you are at interesting levels, but these levels are not that interesting in light of our current environment. Does that make sense? So if you want to get involved in something like this, at least wait until a resistance is cleared, okay? Cleared and sustained. It also would be nice if the environment was showing some other signs than rising rates, okay? Does that make sense? So just something to keep in mind. If you want to accumulate these things, how much is this thing? It's 30 cents. So, you know, again, if you believe in this thing for whatever reason, because you think you have the next lottery ticket for the future, at least control your risk, buy small, you know, buy small amounts as it goes lower and lower. At least you're not risking all your money at one price, because this thing can go to 15 cents. It can go to 10 cents. And you'd be like, wow, I'd love to buy it there. Well, it can go there. It's very possible in light of the environment that we're in. That makes sense. So that's what I have to say about these things. Most of these are going to have the same story. So be very careful with these, okay? If you really believe in them, maybe you have some inside information or something, and you really believe in them, you know, take small bites and don't continue to add until you see something more supportive develop, okay? Because right now, chances favor lower prices, or the structure favors lower prices. Bitcoin favors lower prices. The environment is not supportive for these type of speculative coins, okay? All right. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Why do you never do volume analysis? Because it's a waste of time. Volume analysis on Bitcoin, we don't know if that's real volume that we're looking at. Number one, I can get the same information from candles, okay? I'm looking for, you have to understand, I'm looking at swing trades here, potential swing trades. So all I'm interested in really are structures and levels and brief momentum. I could care less about the volume. It doesn't mean anything. Especially, do you think they're reporting the accurate volume? You know, it's probably like a general idea, but I find no value, there's no advantage to doing that. You have to understand 99% of the nonsense that's fed to us out there has no advantage. It provides no help. It's just more layers of complexity. Less is more. So I hope that answers your question. All right, let me see what else I got here. Okay, cool. You missed my question on YouTube. Can you share it with us? Okay, if it's okay. If you're buying, oh no, I'm not buying. No effing way. Effing as in Ford. No effing way am I buying any inventory at these levels. No way. I'm not buying, I'm not touching stocks. I'm not touching anything. Why am I so pessimistic? Because rising rates are not a good thing, and they haven't even begun to stabilize. They're still rising. I'll tell you why I don't buy anything. I'm going to show you why. I showed you this before. Look at that, right? That's the bond market. Nothing stable about that. So until I see stability there, there's no reason to start buying inventory. There's just no reason. You know, if I'm not even going to buy small, because it's like, well, why? If better prices are coming, why not wait? Right? Plenty of time. There's no hurry. It's not like we're at some kind of magical bottom and we're going to miss the bottom. We got quite some time before you know, any type of bottom is potentially put in. So yeah, I'm in no hurry. But yeah, I was saying back in August and back in November and back in December, I was telling people, bad time to invest, because I saw what the bonds were doing. Okay. So, all right. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. I got to wrap this up. How much? Yeah. What time is it? All right. I got to wrap this up here. If I missed your question, I apologize. Oh, look, we got Salvi. Is that Salvi from Brooklyn? Okay. Yeah, Sabi mentioned something. If you want to put some likes, that's always helpful. I appreciate that. Also, if you're on TradingView, do me a favor. If you're not following me on there, please follow me. That would be actually helpful if you could follow me on TradingView. I mean, most of you are following me on TradingView, but I would like that. It's encouraging for me to see more followers on there. So again, if that helps me out a lot, just press the follow button or whatever. Follow me on TradingView. You'll get my analysis that I put on there every Sunday and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I appreciate that. Likes are always helpful. Thank you again, Bart, for the 100 coins. All right, so Alex, I hope that answered your question. You ever had Bitcoin in your inventory? I mean, do you just your inventory? Do you trust? In order for me to buy, I've had Bitcoin. We've had Bitcoin back when it was at 6,000 and 4,000 and 3,000, and people were laughing at us because we were buying, and they were, oh, you're going to lose your money if you follow these guys. Yeah, right. Well, until we start to see those dramatic levels, or something like that, something relative to that, maybe we won't see 6,000. All right, but I want to see some really dramatic prices before I even bother, because it's just not, there's just no point right now, not in this environment. If we were in a more stable environment, I'd be all about it, but not in this environment. All right, Schwartz, there he is from Spain. You see that? He's probably like on vacation. International men of mystery, they take vacations too. He's probably like in Ibiza or something like that, somewhere cool. Wow. Okay, Schwartz, thanks for stopping by and chiming in from Spain. It's always good to see you. All right. Okay, guys. So let me see. Bodie McBoatface. I like that name. Booty McBoatface. What a name. Bodie. Bodie McBoatface. I guess you're into boats. Different. Okay, cool, Bodie. I'm glad you like that. I like your name. Okay. Works. Okay, cool. From what I can tell, the hype on the 200 microcap coins is generated by including the teams themselves. Chat room hype is for the microcap. Right. I mean, there are, like I said before, there are thousands and thousands of chat rooms out there, as I've recently seen. I knew there were a lot of chat rooms, but I had no idea how many. Okay, and they can just get the hype going, and they also pay fake gurus. They pay them, and there's evidence of this. They pay them to push coins on people. So the altcoins, really, you want to get rich with altcoins, I tell people there are two ways: become a fake guru and push altcoins on others, okay? Or make your own altcoin and get a good marketing team and push that on others. That's how you get rich with them. Otherwise, investing them is a joke, okay? It's a gambling thing. They're like penny stocks. Think of them that way. You know, oh, but I have a friend who made $1 billion because he bought, that was a one-time opportunity. Okay, you have to understand, once that opportunity is like, that's it. All right, the next thing has to come along. Remember NFTs? Oh, they make billions of dollars in NFTs. They're worthless graphics. All right, but if you're in early on that, when all the herd comes rushing in because they think it's the next thing, you sell to them. So again, that's the nature of this business. There's no one out here to help you. No one is your friend. Okay. I see these ads. I'm going to say, I got to wrap this up, but I have to say this real quick. I see these ads, right? The ads are hilarious, but you have to think the marketing agency that puts this ad together, they're just trying to tell the consumer who they're trying to reach what they want to hear, right? So I saw this one ad. I'm not going to mention the broker's name, and they have an ad where it's like a group of people floating around or whatever, and it's supposed to be like the Facebook of investing, and everyone's out to help each other. And hey, look, welcome the new member. Welcome to the collective wisdom, blah, 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 blah. What kind of nonsense is that? That's the worst possible thing you can possibly consume, is information from a collective group of others who have no idea what they're doing. Because anyone that knows what they're doing is not going to share it. They're not going to share the details. A fund manager that's beating the market is not going to tell you how he's doing it, because then it takes away his advantage, right? That's the nature of this business. Basically, so following the herd is the wrong thing. But of course, you're following logic. Well, strength in numbers, nonsense. The herd is mostly wrong, usually wrong, especially in this game. So you have to be the opposite. You have to think ahead, right? Which is usually the opposite, but not necessarily act. You have to wait, because the herd can run you over if you're too early. Happens all the time. Okay, so you have to understand when the sentiment gets to extremes, That's usually where the opportunity is. Okay, and extremes, of course, can happen on both sides, right? You can have extreme highs, extreme lows, but you want to be thinking the opposite. Never want to go with the collective whatever, right? And fake gurus are just nothing more than an amplifier of this herd mentality, and they're getting paid for it. All right, does that make sense? Okay. All right. So anyway, thanks, Kai. All right. Cool. All right. So I got to wrap this up. Yeah, hidden gem. Right? Hidden is a good word because no one knows about me. All right, but that's okay because if I had like if I had like 100,000 followers, we can't have 100,000 followers. Well, I shouldn't say that because most people, they're not going to listen anyway. I'm not going to, who am I to think I could change human nature? You can't. People are going to act the way they act. But again, the point of my stream is to help you prepare. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up here. Look, if I missed your question, greetings from, okay, Gotham, hold on. In your experience during Fed tightening cycles, how does stock market react? Bearish. Where's the money going? Out. Okay, money's coming out. So there's going to be pressure on things. Keep in mind, companies that have to borrow a lot of money, that cost of borrowing goes higher, right? So now they're going to report less on their revenue momentum is going to shrink. They're going to report less on profits. They're going to say, oh, we don't expect to make as much money next year and that kind of stuff, right? In their quarterly reports. So that creates all this pessimism and this bearish stuff. So there's not really, you have to be very careful here. As the S&P gives it all back, everything gets affected, okay? There's not going to be too many places to really go long. So how do you play this environment? Well, you have to be quick. You have to have proper expectations. And I think it really pays to be more short-term oriented in this environment. Now, again, it's not like we're going to be bearish for years and years and years because things change, right? Administrations change, monetary policy changes. And when those changes start to take an effect, usually the market will start to price it in advance. And that's when you can start positioning yourself. As far as an investor goes, right? That's the time to really start positioning with a lot more confidence and a lot less risk, if that makes sense. We're not even close to that yet. Okay. So anyway, all right, you guys. So all right, if I missed your question, I apologize. Come back next Monday. I stream every Monday. You can ask the question again. Like I said before, if you send an email, it's very cumbersome for me to answer these type of questions in the email. I apologize for that. So that's why it's best to come here early and put your question in the chat early so I can get to it. Okay. So again, if I missed it, I apologize. Other than that, I want to thank you guys on YouTube. I didn't want to repeat. Okay, no problem. Okay. All right. So again, everyone, I want to thank you all for taking some time with me here today. I hope you got something out of this stream. Again, the idea is to help you prepare for the potential levels and potential scenarios coming over the following week. I want you to be prepared so that if the market reaches one of these levels that we talked about, particularly on Bitcoin, you have an idea of what to do, okay, instead of reacting. Again, to remind you, we have quite a few important economic announcements coming out this week. So just make sure you stay on top of that, okay? So other than that, I want to thank you all for spending your time with me here today. So enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you are in the world. And thank you very much for watching.